بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين واللعنة الدائمة الأبدية على أعدائهم أجمعين لا قيام يوم الدين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. So we were discussing the questions and answers about the staying in Mina, eve of Mina, 11th and 12th, eve of 11th day and eve of 12th day of the Hajj. And uh, so we mentioned that you don't have to be in Mina the whole day. That means you can be in Makkah. All what you're required is to stay the night in Mina. And the definition of night is very important. Said Al-Khawi, said the Sistani, though they differ in the night in other rulings like Salat, Salatul Fajr, Qadha, midnight, all those kind of things. But here in this Masail, Sheikh Al-Fayyad's testimony that for Sayyid Al-Khawi, it's same like Sayyid Sistani, the night is from sunset till the rise of dawn, not sunrise, the rise of dawn. So middle of that time is the midnight. And that midnight, either you say stay first half of the night or second half of the night. So once you are done with your this wajib, then you can go Makkah. It doesn't have anything to do with pelting the three pillars of shaitan. You can come the daytime, anytime from sunrise to sunset, pelt the stone and go back to Makkah. The only thing we mention is the evacuation from Mina. The intention of evacuation should be done after Dhuhr. So if you come after Dhuhr, you are not in Mina after Dhuhr, you pelt the shaitan and then you leave for Makkah. So that is a general. Let's see what Sayyid Sistani Damadullah has some details with regard to this issue. So we did 11 questions. I think we are in question number 12. That the question number 12 that so some if only it is required to stay night time in Mina. So daytime, can one must go to Makkah or he can go to anywhere he wants. So like Jeddah, for example. So and he's going to come back at night time. Okay. So he says no. It is not specific. Leaving Mina in the daytime, it's not specific for Makkah. Anywhere he can go, Jeddah, anywhere he can go. So he says the ruling is inclusive. The exit from Mina in the daytime is inclusive to any place, Makkah or other than Makkah. So question number 13. Let's say a person stays in Mina. Okay. A person stays in Mina eve of 11th without the intention of spending the night. We said the mabit is spending the night. Because he believed that it is not obligatory upon him to stay at night in Mina. So the question is about in Ilm al-Usul we have the staying night in Mina. Is it like it must happen or no? It must happen through intention. Like what? I'll give you an example. You have blood or najasat on your hand. You're going to purify it. Do you need to say, I am purifying it for the sake of Allah? Or the purpose is just the removal itself? So if the purpose is just removal, then it is done. But if the purpose is removal with intention, then it is not. So it will not be the purification will not happen unless the intention is made. So you see two types of washing the stool, washing the urine, washing those areas. Do you need to say, I'm doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because He loves the purification and this and that? Do you need to say those things while purifying the private parts. No. So the main ibadat is, the main obligation is that before the salat, or before any obligation that requires purification of the body, that area needs to be pure. You don't need to mention the intention of pure nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is one type of ibadah. We come to wudu. If you just wash your face and arms and do the masah without intention of such being obligation or recommendation or a prerequisite for salat, then you did not do wudu. The wudu did not happen. The intention needs to be there. So there are some things which the intention of achieving the nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is required. It's called ta'abbudi. And the other part is tawassuli. That means that thing should happen regardless of the intention. For example, marriage contract or buying and selling. So these are obligatory contracts. Do you need in the marriage contract to make the intention of achieving the nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No. If you do it, that's fine, because you're doing it for Allah. But do you need to make that intention? Let's say you did the marriage contract. Wife said zawwajtuka nafsi, and the guy said qabilt, finish, without having that kind of background of intention that indicates that you are achieving the nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this case, that is tawassuli. Marriage happens. If that achieving the nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was required in marriage contract, the marriage did not happen if you do not make the intention of achieving the nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is called tawassuli. The action itself is required regardless of the intention. Ta'abbudi, ibadah, worship, no. It needs to be done with the intention of achieving the nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this staying in Mina, is it required to have that intention, or no? You just stayed in Mina, that's fine. That is part of obligation of Hajj. So he says that إذا كان جاهلا مقصرا فهو آثم بترك نية المبيت. If that person was unaware about that, it is obligatory upon him, okay, then he would be considered a disobedient or a sinner. Okay, he would be a sinner for not bringing that intention. So he would be a sinner for not performing the intention, the making the intention, even though he stayed the night in Mina, but he did not make the intention of obligation to achieve the nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the niyat of obligation was not made, because he did not believe that it was one of the, he saw Hajjaj doing it, he did it. Like monkey see, monkey do kind of phenomena. He did not know that why this Hajjaj are doing, because it's wajib. Nobody told him. Or he never paid attention to the learning all these ahkam. He just went with the flow. So achieving the nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is important. If he did not, so remember that ignorance person or unaware person are two types. One is intentional, one is unintentional. So he says that if a person was his unawareness was unintentional, no, if his unawareness was intentional, deliberate, okay, then he is a sinner for not making that intention. So that means if his awareness was unintentional, then there's nothing upon him. But he did not learn intentionally. That means he got opportunities to learn. He got opportunities to ask, but he never asked. He doubted, but he never asked. So here he is considered a sinner. So we have two scenarios. One, he unintentionally, he was unaware. His unawareness was intentional. Then he's a sinner. If he is his unawareness was unintentional, so he's not a sinner. He says, in all the cases, there is no penalty upon this person for not mentioning the intention. Why? Because he stayed there. So it's like a partly amrun baina amrain kind of thing. Partly his stay in Mina happened. So there is no kafara. His religious responsibility was to mention the intention in his heart, at least, that why is he doing it? Because it's obligatory. For not bringing that intention in the heart, that religious part, the ta'abbudi part, for that will be a sinner if his unawareness was intentional, not a sinner if his unawareness was um, unintentional. In both cases, it says there is no penalty, because normally there's a penalty if you miss the stay in Mina intentionally. There's a penalty of slaughtering a sheep or a goat. So question number 14 is repeated what we said in question 13. If someone stays in Mina without intention, is that without intention of staying in Mina, because he thought that it was not obligatory. But he stayed there for what purpose? Why did he even stay there? So that he can easily pelt the three pillars, small, medium, large, of shaitan in the beginning of the daytime. So will that be any kafara? He says the kafara is not proven upon such type of person. So he stayed in Mina. So that kind of thing happened. But he did not make an intention. So he was a sinner for not doing the stay, adding the intention of achieving the nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the stay happened. The stay happened even if he did not make an intention. Intention was another obligation, which he missed. He would be sinner if he was intentional. I mean, this intentional was unaware, remember, in both cases. But the unawareness was intentional or unintentional. So we are not saying that he knew that it was obligatory. He intentionally did not make an intention. No, he was unaware. He was jahil. So we say, what type of jahil? With regards to the intention. Question number 15. Same repeating question. If a person comes to Mina and is so exhausted after the pelting the big shaitan, not sleeping properly in Muzdalifah, tired, exhausted, waiting for this animal to be slaughtered, and is awake, and then shaving of the head. So he's so exhausted that once the sun sets, he knocks down without making an intention. So he says if he sleeps before the time of staying over, staying over the night, like before the time, okay, qasidan laha. So he, before the entrance of the time, like before the sunset or before the midnight, if he was going to come to other half of the night, okay, before that time, he slept without the intention, and he woke up after the sun, after the dawn, or after the rise of the dawn, after the fajr. That means the time, the whole time he slept there, he stayed over without the intention of sleeping or staying over there in Mina. So is there anything? He says there's nothing upon him. So these are all different scenarios. unaware intention, unaware about the obligation, intentional, unintentional. Then here, no, he knew. But what happened before the entrance of Maghrib? He knocked down. Okay, like Adhan of Maghrib was happening, and is so tired and so exhausted that that he was hyperbolic, unspiritual. So he just slept on the time of Maghrib or before the time of Maghrib. And then he woke up after the rise of the dawn with the Adhan of Fajr, for example. To the whole nights he did not make intention. So he said there is nothing upon him. Question number 16. If someone makes the intention to stay in Mina before the sun sets, then he sleeps and he does not wake up until the midnight. Okay, which midnight? The the middle time of between the sunset and the rise of the dawn. Sunset and dawn. Will that be sufficient? Yeah, Muntasir, will that be sufficient, or he needs to spend the other half of the night, because before the sunset he slept. He made the intention in Mina to stay in Mina. Before the sunset he slept. The whole night he was unaware, and he woke up with the midnight. So will that be sufficient, or he needs to stay in the second half of the night in Mina? He said on the basis of obligatory precaution, he needs to stay the other half of the night as well. Question number 17. So that means that first half of the night was not sufficient, because the whole time he did the intention before the sunset, not after the sunset. Question number 17. So remember, in the ruling of hunting, the prohibition of hunting in the state of Ihram is the hunting itself, okay? The grabbing the hunt, eating the hunt, or telling people, oh, you are looking for an animal, that's the animal, you can hunt it down. So even pointing, helping somebody in hunting is prohibited. So if someone has done that violation of hunting in the state of Ihram, okay, or in the Haram, so he cannot leave on the 12th of the Hajj. He has to spend the night, eve of 13th, and leave on the day of 13th after pelting the 3 pillars of Shaitan. So they need to stay 3 eves in Mina, but it is not practical. First of all, inside Makkah, inside Mina, Muzdalifah, rarely you can find an animal to hunt. Yeah, if somebody was coming from by road from some of the routes from Medina, and he saw deers on his way, and he was hungry and hunted down, that can be a case. But here in Mina now, he's in the state of Ihram of Hajj. So Mina, Muzdalifah, Arafat, where will we? So it's not even a practical ruling nowadays. If somebody hunts, then he needs to contact um, the office or contact us so we can look for him the ruling. But anyhow, if somebody goes against the violates the hunting prohibition, then he needs to stay the extra, the day of 13th. That's question number 17. Question 18, okay, is similar, but in this case, a person did the violation of prohibitions of ihram in having private relations with his wife. So person performed Umrat al-Tamattu. Okay, in Umrat al-Tamattu, you have somebody performed, somebody got engaged in private relation, the intercourse part, in the ihram, in the state of ihram of Umrat al-Tamattu, after the sa'i between Safa and Marwa. That means he had not clipped his hair. Okay, so like before exiting the state of ihram, he did not clip his hair, and once the sa'i was finished, whoopsie daisy. So obligatory precaution is to stay extra eve, like eve of 13th, and pelt the three stone pillars on the day of 13th. So the question is this specifically for ihram of Hajj, or it is inclusive to other scenarios? So he is in Umrat al-Tamattu. After the sa'i, he entered the state of ihram and he performed the private relations with his wife. So is it specific only for ihram of Hajj? I mean, the question is a bit messed up. So whoever engages in a private relation with his wife in the ihram of Umrat al-Tamattu, after the sa'i, it should be ihram of Hajj al-Tamattu, not Umrat al-Tamattu. Okay? Will the ruling of obligatory precaution to stay in Mina extra night, the eve of 13, will be inclusive to that person, or it is specific? Okay, now, okay, so the ruling about ihram of Hajj tamattu is known. Obligatory precaution if somebody does private relation with his spouse, okay, before exiting the ihram of Hajj tamattu, after the sa'i, if he does before tawaf al-nisa. So it is for Hajj that he has to stay if somebody does in ihram of Hajj. So the question is, if somebody does in ihram of Umrat al-Tamattu, Umrat al-Tamattu, I have two scenarios. It says after the sa'i. After the sa'i, if he clips his hair, then khalas, he's out of his ihram. He can have relations with his wife as much as he wants. So it seems that there's something missing in this question, like whoever has private relations in ihram of Umrat al-Tamattu after the sa'i and before the taqsir, before exiting the state of ihram, will the ruling of having such relation and the obligation of staying extra night in Mina for someone who does that in the ihram of Hajj al-Tamattu, will it be applied in the case of Umrat al-Tamattu if he does after the sa'i and before the taqsir? Because after the taqsir, there's no meaning for this ruling. So after the sa'i and before the taqsir. So he said, no, I mean, this ruling of staying extra night of 13th, it is specific for ihram of Hajj al-Tamattu. Ihram of Hajj, Tamattu Ifrad, but not Umrat al-Tamattu, does not include Umrat al-Tamattu. Yes. So these are certain scenarios where someone needs to stay the eve of 13, and and so hunting plus having private relations. So the question 19 is a follow-up question. What about if somebody does lustful activities without the intercourse, without the real private relation? It's just like lustful activities with his wife without the main major activity. Okay, the intercourse, for example. So whoever does engages in lustful activities with his wife without the major private relation, will he be required to stay in the state of ihram? Obviously, if somebody does it, will he be required to stay the eve of 13? He said no, it would not be. If it's haram, there are other things, but to stay the extra eve, that is something which is specific to hunting and having that major private relation. Okay, so he said it's not obligatory on other than on any other lustful activities other than the major thing. Question number 20. It's about whoopsie daisy. Okay, if yeah, so again, if someone comes to his family, okay, gets into that intimate private relation, the major one we are talking about, in the state of ihram, okay, of hajj. So if somebody engages in the major private relation activity in the state of ihram, but out of heedlessness, the hormones are high, the hormones have blocked the brain, the curtains of lust are surrounding his brain and nerves and everything, and he became heedless that he's in the state of ihram, or he forgot that he's in the state of ihram, or he was unaware, the unawareness that is pardoned, not the intentional one, unintentional, the one in which a person is pardoned. And whoopsie daisy, that relation happened, the major private relation happened. So will he be required to stay in Mina eve of 13th? He says no, it is not required. Okay, it's not required. لا يلزمه ذلك. Not be, he's not required to stay the extra night. Why? Because heedless. He became heedless. He became totally unaware about that he's in the state of ihram, or he forgot that he shouldn't be doing this, or he was unaware. That unawareness that can be pardoned. That means he attended the classes and everything, but the Maulana did not mention this ruling. Okay, and nobody told him about this ruling, so he never encountered in his mind. Okay, so it's not obligatory for him. So he said, now we come to the question number 21, which is one half of the night or both half the night. He says, is it obligatory to stay in Mina the entire night, or he can exit from it in part of it? So the answer is one has an option to stay in it either from the beginning of the night till the midnight, or uh, from the midnight, beginning of the midnight till the rise of the dawn. That's what we said. Either this, either that. So, follow-up question number 22. Which one is best? The first or the second? Yesterday we mentioned, okay, we mentioned the technicality, the engineering, The first night is the best night. From which aspect? Was it like from the fadilah, from the religiosity? No, no, no. From the aspect of easiness. You do your first night, go home, relax the whole day, and from sunrise to sunset, anytime come in Mina, pelt the three stones and go back. Or if you come before Maghrib, then you do on the 12th before the day of 12th come before Maghrib, and you do the pelting and then sleep the first night and go home, and next day you come, but make sure that you evacuate Mina after the time of Dhuhr, not before the time of Dhuhr. Okay? Many people, they come before the Dhuhr, like 1 hour, and they pelt the stone, and they leave after the Dhuhr time. So which one is afdal? Which one is more rewardable? The first midnight, first a portion of the night, or this first half of the night, or the second half of the night? He said there is no uh, the preference. The preference of one over another is not proven. However, the staying the first half of the night is precautionary. Why? Many times, you want to come and something happens in Makkah, so you miss that night. So precautionary measure is the first half of the night, which we said the technicality also, it eases up things. So you spend first night, okay, and then leave and relax in Makkah, do amal, whatever. So precautionary measure is one of the aspects of precautionary measure is, and we have seen this many times, people, they choose the other half of the night and they leave 1 hour before the midnight, and they barely are able to arrive in Mina because of the heavy traffic. Okay, if you're coming walking, that's fine. If you're in Azizia or in what they call it, I forgot the name of the place beside Mina, Misfala, Sifla, Misfala, something like that. Okay, beside Jumeza, that area. Okay, so you can just walk, make a walk of like half an hour, and you're in and out. But if you are in middle of Makkah, somewhere where you need to take a taxi to come to Mina, then it can take longer time. And you're planning to come other half of the night, you may arrive late, and then you may need to give a sacrifice for not spending neither first night, neither second night. So if you are spending second night, you have to be precise. And I know that I have seen this, like many HAJJ, they said, oh, we are going to come the second night. We are going to come. And when they come late. They come 1 hour late, half an hour late. And we're waiting to look at their faces and slap them with kafara news, penalty news. Anyhow, so this is something which we will see what Sayyidi Sistani's updates are in this if somebody arrives late on the second half of the night. But anyhow, question number 22 does not talk about which one is rewardable more, first half of the second. He said there's no proof for me to tell you that the first half is more rewardable than the second half. However, spending the first half of the night is a precautionary measure. Question number 23. Is it permissible? Like, remember, we said in Muzdalifah, they don't have to spend the whole night in Muzdalifah. The weak ones, the sick ones, the elderly people, those who are who have certain excuses. Excuse me. So those who have certain excuses, they are not required to stay the whole night. Some portion of the night and done in Muzdalifah. So does that rule apply here in the staying in Mina, that they can just come portion of the night in Mina and they can leave? He said no. Apparently, it is not sufficient. Okay. Apparently, it is not sufficient to stay portion of the night. for those people. He said, however, if someone was really had, if someone had really an excuse that it was unbearable for that person to stay the one half of the night, okay, then he doesn't have to be there. Pay just kafara. That's it. No, pay kafara. No, I'll come and tolerate. I don't want to spend $200 just for not staying in Mina for every night. Two goats, one eve of 11th and eve of 12th, or something like that. Then the strength will come and the stamina will come, and because I've seen that. Sheikh, I'm tired. Do I have to stay? I'm really can't handle it. I'll become sick and this and that. I said, if that's the case, you don't have to stay, but pay penalty. Penalty? How much is it? Like a goat? A goat, like about $150, something like that. I will try. I will come and stay. And they stay, alhamdulillah, because the goat is costly. The sleeping in Makkah, okay, is going to be costly. Yes, some maraja, they say no. If you really have certain excuse that you are not able to stay in Mina, they say just you don't have to. The obligation befalls upon you, because la yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha, and there has been no narration exempting portion of exempting these people to attend only portion from attending the whole night or a whole half night. Like Muzdalifah, we have evidence, but here we don't have evidence. So either stay one half night. If you are excused, you don't have to stay, because portion of the night is like no night. You see, here, portion of the night, 1 hour, half an hour, 2 hour, it's like no night. If you are excused, you don't have to stay. If you stay 1 hour, 2 hour, it will not be sufficient. You see, you will have to pay kafara. In the opinion of Sayyid Sistani, other maraja, some of the other maraja, they say there's no kafara on it, because Sayyid Sistani uses a lot of precautionary measures. So he says that is it sufficient for women and weak ones to stay just portion of night, whatever is called, they stayed in night in eve of 11th and eve of 12th in Mina? He says, no, it is not sufficient. Unless if there was a religious excuse which removes the responsibility of staying night in Mina totally. You see? Like, la yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. So in that case, they can leave, they can abandon staying the night in Mina with whatever circumstances they have, due to the whatever circumstances they have. بمقدار ما يقتضيه. So whatever circumstances allows you, you can stay. If you don't if you have circumstances like you can only stay 2 hours, 3 hours, you can just stay. It is permissible for you. But will it be considered like staying the whole night? He says there's no evidence to do that. So when we come to the penalty section, we will clarify this point, that is Sayyid Sistani obligating the penalty as an obligatory precaution or obligation, and if he's considering penalty for the one who has avoided the entire night or was able to attend part of the night, not half, less than half of the night, like these people who are excused and pardoned. Okay. Question number 24. Is it obligatory to stay in Mina like the half night, one half night is like a general half night. That means 5 minute minus 5 minute plus is okay. Or no, a specific midnight. So the question is it obligatory to stay in Mina if a person chooses to spend one half of the night? Should he be considering the real precise half of the midnight, half of the night, or it can be it's an orphe, it's a half night in the common consideration. That means commonly, if common observer he sees you, that means he says that, oh, you did half night. We will not come and precisely, oh no, I mean there's 1 minute left, oh no, there's 2 minutes left, you should so common consideration. So he says no, one should observe the precise halfness of the night, the true half night, and there is no consideration for the common observer or commonly observed half night in this ruling. And this is a follow-up of question of the previous one. He says, what if a person that is Haji uh, was late, 5 minutes late from the beginning of the half night? Like the Maghrib is 6 o'clock, he came 6:05. So should he be staying the other half of the night? He says yes, because you did not stay the first half of the night. 5 minutes gone, you see. So you need to stay remember that precautionary measure, that sometimes delay happens. So the first night is precautionary from this aspect. In case you arrive late, so at least you have the other half night, you can secure it. You're in Mina. You don't say, oh, I arrived late. Okay, let me go back home and I'll come other half night. No, 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 no. Just stay there. Don't put another risk of losing the other half night as well. It's obligation. It's like missing your wajib. So question number 26. If someone leaves Makkah and did not arrive the first half of the night, he was late half an hour, 1 hour. So is it obligatory upon him to stay there? Yeah, it's a repeated question. The second half night, like he missed portion of first half night. Says yes. In this case, it is obligatory upon him to stay the second half of the night. The previous one missed 5 minutes, and he was told to stay the second half of the night. And this guy has missed 1 hour, half an hour to 1 hour, nisf sa'a or sa'a, obviously. So question number 27. Okay, this guy is a mathematician. So what he does is, let's say the night is 12 hours. So one half of the night is 6 hours, for example. So he says, do I have to stay one full length of 6 hours in my example, because it's clearer than the wording of that? Or I can divide my 6 hours between first half and the second half. So I come 2 hours in the first half, and then before the second half ends, the 3 hours on the first half, and before the second half ends, 3 hours before the Fajr, 3 hours after the sunrise. So I've done 6 hours, the total of half night, but distributed. So He said, can I come 1/4 of the first and 1/4 of the end? So it's half night, 1/4 of the night and 1/4 of the night. So combination, mix and match. He said, that's not sufficient. You have to have either in one stretch, first half of the night or second half of the night. But it has to be in one stretch, one, not undivided. MashaAllah. Question number 28. It has been mentioned in Manasik that someone stays the first half of the night until the midnight. It would be permissible for that person to exit or leave Mina, okay, leave Mina after it. Yes. So the question is, when does the first half of the night starts? The Shia night or the Sunni night? The Shia Maghrib or the Sunni Maghrib? No, it's not like that. I'm just mentioning just for the sake of understanding. The thing is, the Shia Maghrib and the Sunni Maghrib are same. The sunset. The Shia Maghrib starts with the disappearance of the sun from the horizon. The Sunni Maghrib starts with the disappearance of the sun from the horizon. So there's no difference in the time of Maghrib that it is after the sunset. That's why some of the Maraja, they said you can break your fast when the sun is set. Like Shia, so Shia time is like Sunni time to them because it's the criteria sunset. So the Maghrib starts with the disappearance of the sun from the horizon. The difference in the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam is a precautionary measure to wait after the Maghrib, it's some time that the redness in the east side of the horizon disappears. So I'm satisfied the more the redness goes up, the more sun goes down. So I'm satisfied that the sun in the west has gone below further. So the night has happened. So it's a precautionary measure to secure the night. ثم أتموا الصيام إلى الليل. Layl part, night. So it's a precautionary measure. ذهاب الحمرة المشرقية, disappearance of the eastern redness in the horizon. Yeah. So the question here is asking that the first night, when does the first half of the night starts? Does it start from the sunset or from the disappearance of eastern redness? He says from sunset, disappearance of the sun from the horizon, from the sunset. Yes, you pray as an obligatory precaution after the disappearance of the eastern redness, and you break your fast as an obligatory precaution after the disappearance of the redness. Some Maraja, they say you don't have to stay the disappearance of the redness because the narrations are shaded. But then Maraja, most of the Maraja, they use obligatory precaution. You can refer in it to, it's like Sayyid Muhammad Sa'id al-Hakim, at-Tabataba al-Marhum. He said you don't have to wait for the eastern redness. And the evidences, the research mentions that this is a precautionary measure because the narrations are not strong, which indicated that. However, it gives a kind of sense of precaution that you are sure now that the night entered. So this is the thing. When you enter Mina, you need to enter before the sun sets. So while you're making the intention, you are there in the sunset time in Mina. If you enter the Shia time, okay, or let me put it like this, Shia time, the disappearance of eastern redness, then you have to stay the other half of the night because you missed not 5 minutes, you missed 12 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever precautionary measures you do. So no, that's why I say come before the sunset. just half an hour, 15 minutes, whatever, because it's wajib, it's obligation, secure or wajib. Otherwise, you'll have to secure a goat or secure the whole night. If you come late, then you will have to stay the whole night because you did not achieve the night, the first half of the night completely. So minute to minute. And people say, oh, but are the clocks precise? Yes. The sunset, the disappearance of the sun from the horizon is an astronomical thing. It is very precise. Yes, disappearance of the eastern redness can be shady. Some might say, oh, after 10 minutes, some might 15 minutes. But disappearance of the sun from the horizon is very precise. So you don't have to like just put 1 foot exactly, just Allah Akbar, like, so no, come like 15 minutes, half an hour before, even 1 hour, doesn't matter. It will not harm you. Take precautionary measures to arrive before the sunset. Yes, if you enter the border of Mina, okay, and we said even before border of Mina, Aqabatul Madaniyin, we mentioned when Bay'atul Aqaba, pledge of Aqaba happened with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was outside of Mina, like Jamratul Aqaba. Remember, the big shaitan's pillar is called Aqaba, Jamratul Aqaba. That is outside of the border of Mina. So if you arrive in that area, then you are good. Make the intention. However, nowadays it's easy. Just cross the Jamratul Aqaba before sunset. And then if you arrive in your tent after 1 hour, half an hour, if your tents were at the end side of the Mina, that's another thing. But make sure that you are in Mina before the sun sets, not before the easterns of the disappearance of the eastern redness, the sunset. That's why I'm not going to use time of Maghrib. No, it's sunset, because time of Maghrib we do as a precautionary measure a few 10, 12 minutes later. Okay, but time of sunset is one. It's a universal phenomena. Yeah, so he says sunset. Now that was the first edge of the night. What is the second edge of the night? The Fajr, or the sunrise. As I said, Sayyid al-Khuy Quddasa Sirru's night ends with sunrise, like universal natural phenomena. The Maraja, they have taken it till Fajr, because Fajr is the beginning of the day. So Salatul Fajr of Tuesday, you're not in Monday anymore, so you're in Tuesday. So they say the day starts with the Fajr. That's number one. So this is something which is the universal phenomena. Okay, so now Sayyid al-Khu'i, yes, he had the sunrise is the end of night. However, in this ruling, he has not given any specification. So Sheikh al-Fayyad, the one who was nurtured by Sayyid al-Khu'i Quddasa Sirruh, he says that Sayyid al-Khu'i in this ruling was like other Maraja. That means until the rise of the dawn. Until the, but the reason there's a 1 to 1.5 hour difference between this. So any mess up in this timing, you miss 5 minutes, that means you did not catch up your half night. You see? So that's why those who are staying the other half of the night, they need to make sure that those who are doing the half of the midnight. For those who are staying other half of the night, if they stay sunrise, they don't have to pay any penalty. It's nurun ala nur, icing on the cake. You stayed extra time, just till sunrise. So dawn, sunrise is a precautionary. Where does the problem come for Sayyid al-Khu'i followers? If they will measure sunset as a criteria, their midnight starts late. If they come late, then they missed part of the night. Remember, their night is longer. So the first night is longer, second half of the night is longer. So when it is longer, that means it starts late, because the first night is longer. It has taken part of the second night of other Maraja. I don't want to mess up with your mind, The bottom line is, those who follow Sayyid al-Khoi, for them, this is the same like all the other maraja, from sunset till dawn. If they stay first half of the night, precautionary measure, stay 1 hour extra. If they stay second half of the night, precautionary measure, stay until the sunrise, finish. So they can use precautionary measure, because the Bahth of Sayyid al-Khoi indicates in other areas, sunrise is the end of night. But in this area, Sheikh al-Fayyad is testifying as his very closest student that the night starts with the night ends with the Fajr in this area for Sayyid al-Khoi. Anyhow, so it is until the rise of the dawn for Sayyid Sistani and majority of the Maraja. Question number 30. If a person who is performing Hajj, he arrives Mina in the first half of the night. However, when he arrives, he wants to spend first half of the night, okay? However, he's doubting that did he arrive on the sunset, or he did not arrive on the sunset. He's doubting, did the sun set or did it not set? So he's arriving in the time first half of the midnight. So to make it properly, rephrase the question properly, if a person arrives in Mina and doesn't know that he entered after the sunset or before the sunset, okay, he doubts, did I enter before the sunset? That means I'm doubting in the extension of the day. Okay, did the day end and I entered, or I entered before the end of the day? So what happens if he entered after the end of the day? Then he will have to stay the other half of the night, because he was 1 minute late or 2 minutes late. The sun set and he entered. So that edge point, he's doubting. Did I enter? So did I enter on sunset, or I entered before sunset? If I entered after sunset, like 1 minute, then I have a problem. So here the rule of istishab will be applied. That means extension of the previous certainty. So what was the previous state? It was daytime. What was the thing which was going to remove the daytime? The sunset. So now you are doubting, did the sunset happen or not? Or did the day end it or not? He said, stretch the previous certainty. Stretch that it was daytime, okay, and you entered Mina before the sunset. So he said, يمكنه البناء على عدم دخول الليل. He can consider that the night had not entered. That means stretch your day. Whenever you doubt, even in the time of iftar, I doubt, is it time of iftar or not? Okay, here you will have to stretch your day. Don't break your fast until you're certain that the night has entered. Here, what should I do? I don't know. Did I enter before the sunset or after the sunset? So if after the sunset, I'll have to stay the whole night. He said, if you doubt in the end of the day ended or not, you will stretch the day and you'll consider the day did not end, istishaban, and you are okay. He says, if fire happens in Mina, is it an excuse to evacuate Mina? Like what happened 1 year, like before 25 years. They used to cook in Mina. Now the tents are fireproof tent, and all the security and fire necessities are taken into consideration, and they don't allow cooking in the tents, and all those kind of precautionary measures are taken. So now they cook the food in Makkah and bring to Mina, because it's just side by side. So the food for Hajjaj is brought from Makkah. Most of the food cooked is there. So what happened? There many times Mina was on fire, if not entire part of it. And I remember one year, our caravan, they wanted to go Mina earlier. So there was a dispute. Some said no, go earlier. Some said no, later. So they asked me, I said, I don't know. They said, please take istikhara. So the istikhara came, delay your leaving to Mina. And once, so we delayed, we stayed in Mecca. And after like 5-6 hours, there was fire in Mina. Oh, thank you for istikhara, this and that. So the thing is that how many times fires have been caught in Mina. Now it's not that practical. So anyhow, I'll mention the rules since it's there. Okay. So is when fire happens, is evacuation, uh, is that fire happening in Mina? Okay, in Mina, not in a portion of Mina or somewhere. So is it enough excuse to leave Mina? So he says, no. So what? Should we be grilled and burned inside? Suicide or what? No. He says, no, it's not an excuse because the fire could be local in a small area of Mina and it can be exaggerated. Okay. So if the authorities, they tell you that you are in a dangerous zone, you have to leave now, then you can move to the areas where there is no fire because Mina is 3 kilometers long. But if the whole Mina was on fire, then obviously it's going to be harmful and you have to evacuate. So he says that no, it is not an excuse to evacuate Mina unless if it was serious enough that the intellectual would consider it a valid fear of fire. So it's a valid fear in front of the eyes of intellectual society or the intellectuals. You see, not just, oh, I need to go and sleep in Makkah and oh, fire, there's a fire. There was a small area, one tent was on fire, and the guy wants to go and relax in Makkah. I'm telling you, people, they try to run away from Mina. I don't know. They're the guest of Allah. Allah's dining is Mina, where He feeds you the meat which you slaughter. Okay, you give to Allah, Allah gives it back to you. So, question number 32. Yeah, I think we will need to uh, um, stop somewhere. Anyhow, let's see. Question number 32. Let's say if staying in Mina would cause serious expenses, very high amount of expenses, like serious expenses, like Mina is costly. There are times Mina is more costly than the accommodation in Mecca. Even the lower class tents are quite costly. So staying in Mina might be very costly or mablagan bahidan, extremely costly for some Hujjaj. So can they stay out of the Mina and pay penalty, or can they stay in Mecca in their house, uh, preoccupying themselves in worship, in La ilaha illallah, and saying La ilaha illallah, dhikr of Allah, and Quran and Salat, and all these kind of things. I mean, staying in Mina is ibadah, more stronger than the ibadah you are going to do inside the house in Mecca. So, the question is, can we replace that ibadah with this ibadah inside our house, in Mecca, or so we stay outside of Mecca and we just pay penalty? He said the exemption of staying in Mina. So there are exemptions of staying in Mina. One of the exemptions is that he stays the night in Masjid al-Haram, in Makkah al-Mukarramah, okay, yujzihi. But for Sayyidi Sistani Damadullah, he stretches it more further, not in Masjid al-Haram, even in Makkah al-Mukarramah. Okay? It depends on the wording of the narration. So many Maraja, they said, no, inside the Haram. You have to stay inside the Haram the whole night, like before midnight till the rise of the dawn. Preoccupy yourself in worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever is considered worship. So, what is the ruling of Sayyidi Sistani? Is it Makkah or is it the Kaaba, Masjid al-Haram? He says it is sufficient to preoccupy in worship, acts of worship in his house in Makkah. So Sayyidi Sistani stretches, not necessarily in Masjid al-Haram, in his house. من قبل منتصف الليل إلى طلوع الفجر. Before the midnight, and not necessary sunset. Some other Maraja, they said from sunset till the whole night you spend in Masjid al-Haram. But Sayyidi Sistani says, no, before midnight till the rise of the dawn. So you spend your time in your house in Makkah. If you spend in Masjid al-Haram, that's fine. But it is permissible. But if he was not able to spend his night in Makkah, in his house from the sunset, I mean from the before the midnight till sunrise, okay, and paying money to stay in Mina, accommodation in Mina, was extremely costly in a way that it would affect his financial capacity, it will be over his financial capacity, then it would be permissible for him to abandon Mina, not to stay in Mina. And however, the penalty will be obligated upon him on the basis of obligatory precaution. Okay? So this is a very exceptional case. Condition number one, extremely costly, affecting his financial capacity, beyond his financial capacity. Condition number one. Condition number two, before midnight till sunrise, till the rise of the dawn, he needs to preoccupy himself in worship. So condition number one, yes, he can leave staying in Mina. Condition number one, if he stays in his house in Makkah before midnight until rise of dawn, worshipping Allah. Okay, that will exempt him, that condition. If he is not able to do that, then, and it is extremely costly to stay in Mina, then he needs to pay penalty. Okay? These are the two cases where a person is exempt according to question number 32, that he is exempt from staying in Mina. If he's going to spend the before midnight, I'm repeating this because there's a difference between Sayyidi Sistani and other Maraja. Before midnight, not sunset. Some other Maraja, they say from sunset till the dawn, needs to stay in Masjid al-Haram. Worship in Masjid al-Haram. Here, Sayyidi Sistani says, he preoccupies himself in his house before the the midnight, until the rise of the dawn. He keeps himself busy in worship, Quran, dua, whatever. I mean, he keeps himself worship. Uh, some so this is number one. Here he doesn't have to pay kafara. No penalty here. Penalty is if he is not able to worship, because this worship is alternative worship from sleeping in Mina or staying in Mina. So if he is not able to do this worship, is not able to afford the accommodation of Mina, then on the basis of obligatory precaution, he would pay kafara. Other than these two scenarios, he needs to spend his night in Mina. Okay? وَإِن تَوَقَّفَ عَلَى, even if he had to spend some money which was affordable, even if it was costly, but it was affordable. So if he leaves, number one, exemption, worshipping in his house in Mecca. Number two, it's costly and affordable. Then he will stay in Mecca, obligatory precaution, but he can't do worship, and it is extremely costly. So, obligatory precaution, pay penalty. Okay? Other than these two, if it's costly but affordable, and he can't do worship in his house, it's 5 hours worship. He's not hyperbolic irfani person or spiritualistic. He barely does salat, he barely does du'as, and then 1 hour, if you tell him worship, that's too much for him. You tell him to worship 6 hours in his house, so the guy is going to be dead until the rise of the dawn. So he said, no worship. I can't do 6 hours worship. No, I mean, I'm not an irfani guy or something like that. And you feel sleepy. I mean, because you're tired from Arafat and Muzdalifah and Mina, so that really exhausting. That's why Allah says, come and sleep in Mina. So no matter how the condition is, people, they sleep. They sleep. Nowadays they have air-conditioned tent and they're spoiled now, pampered a lot. So, but those days it was not a good condition. But people would sleep. They don't mind. They're so exhausted. They just want a place to put their head, and they wake up. Oh, Salat al-Fajr time, and they sleep that sweet sleepness there. And some people, they chat. So if you want to chat for 5-6 hours, come in Mina. Sit with somebody who's extroverted. Keep talking, and you might sleep from his talking. But if you want to stay in Mecca, the condition is, even if it was not costly, staying in Mecca is an option. Yeah, either you stay in Mina, either you stay in Mecca. But Sayyidi Sistani Damadullah has given a discount here from other Maraja, that you can stay in your house and do the ibadah. You can go to Masjid al-Haram and do the ibadah. Anyhow, so to conclude this rule, so number one, you don't want to stay in Mina, you can stay in Mecca before midnight till Fajr, preoccupy yourself in ibadah. Number two, I can't do ibadah, go to Mina, but it's too costly, then pay a goat, kafara, and stay in Mina. Okay, because it's too costly, unaffordable. But if it is affordable, stay in Mina. If it's affordable, you don't stay in Mina, you will be sinner and you're guest of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, remember. And the penalty will be not obligatory precaution, obligatory. Tajibul kafara. That person who can't afford, we said obligatory precaution. That means still there's a room, you can refer to another marja and not pay kafara because it's unaffordable for him. So to stay in Mina. Question number 3. It's a follow-up question of the previous. Staying in Mecca, preoccupying himself with ibadah in his house. Remember, Sayyid Sistani allows you to stay in your house and do ibadah. Other maraja, they say you have to be in Masjid al-Haram. So it's very peculiar about the wordings of the narrations. So it says a house in Mecca. Is it like in ancient Mecca, the house, or even the newly developed area of Mecca? Okay. So, so, like, is it only old ancient Mecca or newly developed Mecca? He says it's inclusive. The methodology of Sayyid Sistani Damadullah is that whatever is called Makkah is Makkah, with the extensions, with the developments. As long as it is called Makkah, it is Makkah. So as long as it's Aziziyah, which is just beside Mina, it's called Makkah, you are okay to stay. But Aziziyah is newly developed area, and there are other newly developed areas now. This, he says, everything which is orphan, commonly consideration, says it's Makkah, Makkah, finish. You can stay anywhere in Makkah as long as it's considered Makkah. Okay. And this is because I know that in the time of Sayyid al-Khuwi Quddasa Sirruh, when we used to go for Hajj, and we have this, like, mashallah, heavy duty champions, and they would not want to sleep in Mina, and they were like rich people, and they said, no, is it possible we just not be in Mina? I said, yes, spend the whole time in Masjid al-Haram, do ibadah, you see. So we were in Mina, sitting and waiting until the other half of the night. And we see these guys, giants, come with their commanders' bags, like, they carry their backpack with them, and their blanket or whatever mattresses folded, all like mountain climbers. And they, what happened? We could not. The sleep was too much, like bombarding on our head, like sleep, sleep. And we tried to hold ourselves. We tried to say, no, no, no. If we sleep, there'll be penalty. Let's go to Mina. And so they tried. I mean, as I told you, it's very exhausting that you need those 2 days to sleep somewhere. But if you sleep in your hotel the daytime, then you will be kind of relieved from your stress of those 2 days. So yeah, so the question number 25, okay, says, if someone was preoccupied in worshiping in Mecca in the second half of the night, not first of the half of the night, second half of the night, as a substitute to stay in Mina, but then the sleepness overcome upon him. So he slept for a small amount of time, maybe like 5 minutes he might have slept, or longer time, maybe he slept 1 hour. So will the kafara be obligated upon that person? Penalty? Yes, on the basis of obligatory precaution. If he missed Mina, okay, second portion of the night, because he was planning to go to Mina second portion of the night. He said, no, let me do ibadah in Makkah, in my house or haram, and in the second portion. So he missed the first portion, Mina. He missed the second portion, Mina, and he slept in his house. The sleepiness got him, and he slept. On the basis of, so obligatory precaution, there's a room to refer to other marja, but say this is as obligatory precaution, pay the penalty. Okay. Question number 35. Whoever preoccupies himself in worshipping in Mecca in the second half of the night, he's exempt from staying in Mina. So what about if a person, okay, he preoccupied himself in worshipping, and he left to use the restroom or some needs or necessities, renewing the wudu. Okay, so necessities are allowed. So when you are in Masjid al-Haram or you are in your house, so you're worshiping, so you went out to renew the wudu, go to the restroom, and while coming back, you saw nice product in the market. Okay, like let's say you were inside the Masjid al-Haram and you went outside to the restroom area. While you're coming out, there are shops. Well, those days there are plenty shops, you see. So and he started asking about the price of some of those products. Will that disrupt his time of worshiping Allah, or his time which he preoccupies himself to worship Allah? He says if he stays too long, then yes, it will. But if just ask one item and like it's very short time, there's no problem. But if he stays there, okay, بعض الوقت, good significant amount of time, yes, it will disrupt your staying. That means penalty. Is it sufficient to preoccupy um, half of the night in Mecca as a substitute of staying in Mina? So here also Sayyid Sistani differs from other Maraja. Many other Maraja, they say they have to stay the whole night. Sayyid Sistani says, yes, it is sufficient to stay the second half of the night. Okay? If he is not able to come back to Mina before midnight until the rise of the dawn, then he can spend all this second half of the night in his worship, except for the time which is required to fulfill the needs, like to bring food, buy food, uh, toilet, restroom, wudu, all these kind of necessities. Those are exempt from the disruption. Question number 37. I think we'll stop at 40. Question number 37. So some other Maraja, as I told you, they obligate the whole night to stay in Masjid al-Haram or in Mecca, worshipping, no sleep. So the question here is, what about the first half of the night? The question says, is it sufficient to preoccupy oneself in worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Mecca from the first half of the night until the midnight? Okay. And is it sufficient to look at the Kaaba, which is ibadah, and reciting the Quran and helping the Hujjaj around and answering the religious questions? So the answer, preoccupying with worship in Mecca in the first half of the night does not eliminate the obligation of staying in Mina second half of the night. So if you finish first half of the night ibadah, go to Mina. Okay. So first half of the night is not sufficient. If you do first of the half of the night worshipping in Mecca, it is not sufficient to drop the second half of the night in Mina. And what drops the second half of the night? Now we come to the actions. Okay. What drops the second half of the night is preoccupying oneself in worshipping from before a while, from midnight till the rise of the dawn. Okay. And what are the a'mal? He said, what you mention are sufficient. Just looking at the Kaaba, staring at the Kaaba is ibadah. النظر إلى الكعبة عبادة. Reciting the Quran, ibadah. Helping anything which is considered, whatever takes you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do it for the sake of Allah, it is ibadah. So it is sufficient to perform those a'mal which you mentioned in the question he mentioned, with the intention of achieving the nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and is an obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means seeking pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's ibadah, but not if you are just for the sake of pastime. Oh, come Hajj, I will help you out in the Hajj, and you do tawaf with him. Okay, so yeah, so it's not like and the one of the beautiful things you can do is like if you want to spend time in Makkah, do tawaf, and do tawaf from top floor. Top floor, not all the way top, where the Kaaba is visible. That means from the Mizanian floor. So if you do from the Mizanian floor, or the floor where you can see the Kaaba is above that level, then it takes about 1.5 hours of tawaf. So 3 tawaf are like 4.5 hours, and you're done with your almost one half of the night. Yeah. And then there is Salatul Fajr, and then there you do the nafila of Layl, Namaz al-Shab, Salat Ja'far bin Abi Talib, Dua Josh al-Kabir, Surah Yasin. I think you have a lot of things to do. I mean, if you want to stay in Makkah, especially in Masjid al-Haram, you can preoccupy, get somebody, argue with him about Shia Sunni arguments. The whole night is gone, mashallah. So yeah, but don't debate. I mean, this discussion about the evidences, arguments, because these are the lengthiest ibadah, the discussing about the madhab of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, without blasting on each other. Okay, so we got question number 38, preoccupying oneself in the second half of the night, which is a substitute for staying in Mina. Is it sufficient to look? I mean, it's repeating question. Look at the Kaaba, reciting Quran, helping the Hajjaj, and responding. He says it is sufficient with the intention of achieving the nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as an obedience with this. And this title has been mentioned in the narration. Okay, so yes, you can do with the intention of being obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Question number 39. What is better, staying in Mina or preoccupying yourself in worshipping in the Makkah al-Mukarramah? Obviously in Mina, that's the whole thing. I mean, if it was not afdal, Allah would not have obligated upon the ummah to stay in Mina. As I said, it's dining of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you will sleep a sweet sleep because of you're tired and exhausted. You'll just go anywhere and sleep. You don't mind sandwiching between two people. Like sometimes the place is so narrow and you're gigantic. Just squeeze yourself in. Nobody will mind, and just start snoring. Put yourself in hibernation. So yeah, I mean, he says al-mabit afdal, obviously. And also it's a stress reliever to go there. You just are in the house. Even if you don't eat there, you're in the dining of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Makkah is house of God. You're guest there. But in these 2 nights, Allah wants you to spend here 2 nights. Discount he gives you half of the night. If you're annoyed sleeping in my dining, half of the night. Okay, 1/2 of the night. So yeah. So therefore, al-mabit afdal, staying night in Mina is rewardable. So the question was, which is more rewardable, preoccupying in Makkah with ibadah, or staying the night in Mina? Staying the night in Mina is afdal. Final question for today. This is not practical. I mean, maybe it can be applied to the caravan leaders. So it is mentioned in Manasik al-Hajj that though some of those who are exempt from spending the night in Mina are people who serve water to the Hujjaj in Makkah. So this is once upon a time when there no faucets, no nothing. People would carry the water bag and they will feed the Hujjaj who are there doing tawaf. So they can't leave Makkah because their work is there to help the Hujjaj. Yeah, so those people who distribute water, cold water to the Hujjaj in the streets or around, they're in Makkah. Their duty is there. So he says, yes, this is an exemption if the Hujjaj need that service. Okay, that was once upon a time. Now they have fridges and they have refrigerators and faucets and everything is there. So question number 41. Again, this is for the people who are shepherd. Okay, the guy who is a shepherd, he needs to take care of his goats at night. Uh, is he exempt? Is he exempt from staying at night? He said no. Um, it is, yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, it is. It is not. They are not exempt. وإنما يستثنى إذا اندرج في الطائفة الأولى, if it is considered from the first categories we mentioned previously in the Manasik al-Hajj. If he falls under the previous category, number one, then yes. And question number 42 is a bit lengthy, so I think we will stop here. Okay. Yes, so we have about 59 total questions, so it's 42. So that means we have about 17 questions. Hopefully, inshallah, in our upcoming, we will be done with this session of spending night in Mina. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.